So, hello everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's Tuesday with Monday webinar with Purple Plum Consulting. I'm Dee Dee Butler, marketing professional here at Purple Plum, and I'll be your moderator today. Artificial intelligence isn't just a passing trend in commercial real estate. It's fundamentally changing, and every professional in this space is getting hit with the same message: adapt or get left behind. But so far, that usually means opening up a separate tab, typing out a prompt, and then copying the result back into whatever you're actually working in. It's clunky, it breaks your flow, and let's be honest, most of us don't have that time for the extra step in the middle of a busy day. So today, we're going to be cutting through that hype, and we're going to show you how to move away from those theoretical chat windows and bridge the gap by bringing in live contextual workflow automation right into your actual CRM environment inside Monday.com. To do that, I am joined by our incredible subject matter expert and webinar presenter, Christian Lee. Christian is a solution architect here at Purple Plum Consulting who specializes in solving complex business challenges through innovative technology solutions. With advanced certifications in both Monday.com and Make.com and hands-on experience with both platforms since 2020, he's developed a deep expertise in complex integrations, custom development, and strategic automation. And he brings a unique ability to connect systems and processes into unified workflows for commercial real estate teams. And just for fun, what you probably don't know is that his favorite snack food is chips and dip. And the song he has to sing along with when he hears it is Pride and Joy by Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Christian, it's so great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks, Dee Dee. Super excited to be here and dive into this. We work with a lot of real estate professionals, and one of the biggest things we hear all the time is, everybody's very curious about AI and how to use it, but just there's a lot of different tools, and even Monday has several, different products into the Monday ecosystem. So everybody's very overwhelmed kind of with how to use it and find practical ways to use it. So that's what today's all about, is just kind of highlighting those couple of practical ways that you can use AI.
Well, thanks, Christian. And to keep this high value and respectful of your time, we're going to be running a rapid fire format. We've gathered the top questions we get asked by real estate professionals in the commercial space. And with that, we'll be covering three core areas designed to specifically help you optimize and scale your real estate operations. As you can see on our agenda slide here, we have structured today around these three core pillars. First, under pillar one, speed, we'll be looking at solving the notorious speed to deal bottleneck with automated email campaigns and instant notifications for tenant and buyer inquiries. Next, pillar two, we've got data focusing on eliminating manual entry by parsing leases and contracts directly into your boards. And then pillar three, reporting, will show you how to easily roll up all of your scattered deal and pipeline data into a single source of truth. Now, throughout the session, we'll be addressing questions for each of these areas, and Christian is going to answer them by showing you exactly how they function inside Monday.com. Now, before I hand over things to Christian to dive into our first pillar, just have a couple of housekeeping items to call out. First, we want this to be as interactive as possible for you. And so we're going to tailor the conversations by launching a couple of quick polls throughout the session. When you see those pop up on your screen, please just take a second to check them out, and we'd love to get your input and see where everyone is at in their AI journey. And then second, as you watch the live builds that Christian puts together, questions are bound to come up. Go ahead and drop your questions right into the chat at any point during the presentation, and I'll be keeping an eye on the chat queue, and we'll have dedicated time at the very end of the webinar to address all your questions during our live Q&A. And with that out of the way, let's get started. Let's kick off our first set of questions, which revolve around the lifeblood of commercial real estate, deal and tenant response management. Christian, the questions we hear constantly are, can it guide me on where I need to focus my attention today across my deal pipeline? And can AI actually help me respond to tenant and buyer inquiries faster? How does Monday.com handle this?
The short answer is yes, definitely. Can we automate some outreach? Can we make things quick to respond to inquiries, things like that? So I've just got an example here, leads board. And, this is just where, kind of classic managing lead comes in, right? Following up, you're maybe shooting them an SMS, calling them. So there's obviously a couple ways to do some outreach. One, you can just monitor this, get a notification on Monday when a new one's entered, and, just shoot them an email manually using kind of regular Monday stuff. You can pop this open and send them an email maybe from a template or something. You could also just send them a templatized canned email that's just totally automated. The second it hits the board, sends them an email within a second that says, "Hey, thanks for reaching out. I'll be in touch soon." Right? We've all gotten those emails. Um, that's kind of your traditional automation way. And those are fine, right? But with AI, we can do a little bit more, right? And so I want to kind of highlight that. So to start, we have Angela here, which is a Money.com agent using Money.com's agent product, which is really, really easy to set up. Just a few messages back and forth with Angela, and you've got yourself a pretty good starting point for an agent. And so if we look at her brain, I know it's kind of funny, right? Where we have the kind of her instructions, right? So Money.com agents are broken out into brain. You have triggers, what starts the agent, to begin something. In this case, it's just when a new lead is created. Obviously, you can add to that. But within her brain, it's just a set of instructions that, she created herself actually as I chatted with her to kind of talk through, hey, what's the purpose behind the agent? What is it that you're going to be doing? And really, it's just a personalized outreach, right? So the goal here is to read the context of the lead. What did they fill out? What's their title? What company do they work with? Right? Just some kind of basic details that they filled out in their contact form. So we're actually going to look at this live and watch it in action. So I've just got a pre-filled contact form with just some basic info, that you might have embedded on your website, their email, phone number, what company they work for, their name, what's their title, what's the budget, what are you looking to do? And they're looking for like a particular, apartment unit or, sorry, a commercial unit within a specific area with 2,500 to 4,000 square foot, right? And so I'm just going to submit this lead, which is going to do your classic thing of just dropping it into the board. Now, what's really great is Angela is just going to automatically go off and start doing things, and you can really monitor this in real time as it happens. So if I jump over to the activity, we can see she's already thinking, right? This agent is already beginning the work. It's reading the context of the item, right? And you can see this will take about a minute or so, or less, a little less than a minute usually. It does a few steps, right? I'm making sure it's reading the context of the item. It's drafting the email for me. It's just going to automatically send it. Now, one thing I do want to call out is that you have a lot of control over what the agent does and what it has access to. Sometimes you may want to have a human in the loop before it gets sent out. Right now, we're just doing a totally automated approach. But you totally can control on the Outlook settings or Gmail settings what tools they have access to. And so if I look at this, I can say, oh, they have access to search my emails. For example, you wanted to have a step in here and tell her that, Angela, I need you to go and search my emails to see if I've contacted this person before, right? So it doesn't send like some sort of redundant email to this person if you've worked with them in the past. You can have them only create drafts rather than sending an email, right? So you have a lot of flexibility. And you can see what happens when you're looking at the activity, right? She went through and read the item. It's sending the email via the Outlook integration. And then it created an update and tagged me. And you see I got a notification. So if I jump back to the lead board, I now have a notification that says, hey, that email has been sent out. So like I got an inquiry on my website. It went out and intelligently, with a multi-step process, kind of read through the context of the email, and it manually or automatically sent the email out. And then I also have that email logged here saying, hey, here's what was sent out, right? And also here as well, where she tagged me and said, hey, I sent this email out. I see that you're looking with this budget in this area. Give me a moment to do some research and kind of look into that for you. And I'll be in touch shortly. Right. So just a little bit more personalized touch. This doesn't just level up obviously your speed, because we can send an automated email really quickly, but this just allows that really easy customization and personalization for your quick emails. And so that's kind of the first little step there. It's just using the Monday agents to check in your leads and do some sort of personalized kind of automated response or automated draft creation. Some people want to, read each email before it goes out, and that's totally fine. You could do that. So yeah, that's it for this particular agent here. And so I'll shoot it over back to you, Dee.
Go, Angela. That speed is definitely massive, a great competitive advantage. But once those leads turn into real opportunities, teams tend to hit a wall. Our next question is, can AI pull key lease terms and RFP line items straight from PDFs into a structured Monday board? And with that, I've got another poll for you. Can you tell us which physical document or file type slows down your administrative workflow the most? So A, multi-page purchase lease contracts, B, scattered client PDFs and onboarding files, C, physical business cards and from networking or events, and then D, vendor or inspector invoices. So just give you guys a few moments to answer this one for us. And with that tracks exactly with what we hear. Christian, I'm going to hand it back over to you.
Right. Let's taking a look at this AI agent here. Give it a second to pop up. So this one's named Carolyn. And I'm calling her the commission processing agent. So in this particular use case, I'll kind of give you a brief rundown of the board here. You have, just kind of deals, whether it's a lease or a sale or a purchase, right, of, some commercial property. We're going to go through a lease example today, just because I find that that's probably the most data entry intensive. We kind of work with a lot of different companies in the sense that, you have these lease abstracts or things provided to you that, or you maybe are putting it together where you have a multi-year lease and you have kind of different commission levels potentially per year or kind of an increasing, monthly rent and yearly total consideration kind of increasing over years. And so we've got an example here with Carolyn where we can drop in essentially that PDF into a files column and have kind of the first invoice just get automatically created as well as your commissions being um, calculated for you. So kind of just traditional Monday stuff like what we would do with, just a basic board setup is we'd have that deals board sitting at the high level and then drop down into a commission setup where, you may have items and sub items to represent all of your, kind of years for the leases, right? So just kind of a very simple setup here for demo. But we have just, kind of a property, total square footage, the consideration, and then all of your different annual lease terms, and then the commission rates for each year, which then all gets calculated to, your gross commission. We have the ability to put in referral fees and co-broker fees as well, if you have that all to kind of get to a net commission calculation. Then we also have the ability to split between multiple brokers, where you may have a 60-40 split between two people who are working on a deal or a 50-50 split, right? You kind of enter all that in manually. Whereas, Carolyn's going to kind of do all of this for us. And we don't have to do anything but just take a look at it. So, and then this all also ultimately results in kind of an automated document generation. We do this all the time where we put in our commissions or invoice information, and then we generate these PDFs, with kind of just traditional Monday stuff, and using an app from the marketplace called DocuGen to generate the document. So this is kind of what you would have to just manually type in, or you're going to do it in some spreadsheet and make the PDF yourself, which is very common. And so what Carolyn does really, really well is I can just kind of take, if I jump over to the deals board, and let's say I have Brightside Pediatrics here to a new lease, let's say, moving into LOI, and I need to drop in kind of this rent schedule document in there. So if I have a PDF document with all that detail, I could just drop it in there, and Carolyn's going to go through and do a few things. She's going to read the document, and I've just provided some specific instructions to the agent. As you can see, just kind of step by step. When a PDF is attached, read the document, extract it. Here's all the relevant fields that I want you to fill out on my commissions board. And she's just going to go and she's going to do all that manual entry for me. It's going to take just a moment for that to get going. And so I'll kind of look through, obviously we can look through her brain and, the different setup here. And you can see on the triggers page when lease abstract changes, right? So anytime I'm uploading a file to that column, right, it's just going to automatically run. right? And you can change this trigger so that it's manually triggered or, whatever you want it to be, right? You can kind of add that, and there's all these different ones here within the agents. And so on the brain, it's going to give you that step-by-step instructions. She's going to go out and do that. And then again, you can monitor the activity. You can see I added a couple of failures in here where I removed a PDF document, right? So basically it's just saying, hey, I couldn't do my work because, well, there's no PDF, right? There's an empty column there. And so, it logs every bit of your activity so you can kind of see over time, what's going on. And this is really, really great because all I have to do to say, hey, Carolyn, whenever there's no PDF, I just need you to stop doing stuff. And it won't fail anymore, right? So you can really, really kind of maintain these over time by just chatting with an AI, kind of the way you would with any other chat tool. So there's multiple ways to interact with your agents. Obviously, you can just totally automate it within your process, and it will just run in the background. You can also manually chat with these agents and give them instructions. So you can see we gave her a moment to work. And, we could see what she did. She analyzed the file. She's reading the board structure of the commissions board to understand, hey, here's all the columns, make sure the columns are there, that I told her are there. And then she's going to go and create the item. She's going to update the item. And then also she updated me, right? Again, the kind of similar pattern from before, right? She goes and does her work, and then she tags me and says, hey, I'm completed. Here's what I did. And I can see everything that was done here as well because I've instructed in the set of instructions in the brain to, give me a summary of what was in the document, who's it for, if there's a co-broker fee, if there's a referral, who are the brokers on the deal, right? All of that was contained in that PDF document, and it just totally extracted it out, and gave me, a really nice table here that I can look at. But also in the commissions board, what it did is it just went through and put it in, and I have all the sub items for all the different years, the commission rates. You can see the monthly rent's different, and it all calculated. Like now, all I did was drop a PDF into a files column inside of Monday, and I have everything calculated and filled in. And I also have my first invoice ready to go. So, this is just really, really powerful to kind of just let these agents do certain things. And this is where I'd say you have like a human in the loop step. Maybe you probably, before you send out an invoice, you probably want to have a little bit of a manual review. And so just taking some care to do that, making sure this looks correct, you know, rather than doing all the work and putting the data, we're kind of shifting to a place where the work is kind of done for you. And then you're just double checking and making sure it looks correct. And if anything needs to be changed, that's when you would go and either just chat to Carolyn and say, hey, that wasn't correct. Can you go make a change to this year? The commission rate's not correct or something, right? You can have her do it, or you can just go manually change it. And then you could kind of recreate that PDF document as well, right? So this is really, really powerful to kind of have just an example of extracting a PDF. And there's multiple, multiple times where you may want to ingest a PDF document, have an agent go read it, and then do a series of different steps and tasks for you. And then you can just come back in as the human in the loop and read through it and make sure it looks right before you send it out. So really, really great. Saves a ton of time. I mean, I don't know if that would have taken me 5 to 15 minutes, depending on the number of years, the difference in the lease, and copying all the tenant information, and who is it being billed to. Copying all that into columns into Monday is a little bit tedious, and it just did it. All I had to do was put the file in there. So yeah, that's everything for this one and for Carolyn. So shout out to Carolyn for doing all that for us and doing a great job. So yeah, back to you, Dee.
Thanks, Krishna. Yeah, go Carolyn. That's incredible. And that's definitely a game changer for commission calculations. No more manually entering lease schedules line by line. Love it. So go ahead and jump into our next question. So now let's talk about keeping people informed. We get a lot of tactical questions around communication, specifically, how can we turn all of the scattered deal and commission data into one clean branded dashboard we can actually show to a client? So with that, I have one more poll to launch. And that is, how do you currently share deal or portfolio updates with investors, landlords, or ownership groups? So A, manually built spreadsheets or PowerPoints. B, giving them direct access to our working boards. C, email updates are right by hand, or D, we don't have a consistent process. So I'll give you guys a few moments to answer this one. Looks like a number of you are doing the manually built spreadsheets or PowerPoints, and then also email updates that you write by hand. And that's exactly why this next piece matters. So Christian, I'm going to hand it back to you to dive in and
So in this setup, we're going to continue with kind of the previous board structure to keep things familiar. So, we just talked about commission calculation and kind of those lease terms and getting that entered in and ending up with a nice PDF document that's just auto-generated for us. So obviously that's great. Now, kind of the other side of that is how do I analyze my data from that, right? And so one tool I want to talk about is Monday Vibe. And so I wanted to kind of look through this and show you what it's all about. So if I just jump over to the Monday Vibe page here, you can see what it is. It opens up with a chatbot, right? This is another AI tool from Monday, which allows you to just literally what it says, build your ideas with Vibe. So Monday.com, obviously, traditionally we have boards and views, and you can do Kanban, you can do calendars, you can do dashboard widgets, and we have these really traditional views. Like for example, if I jump over to the leads board that we were looking at earlier, look at like a nice dashboard, right? We have some charts and donut charts. We have, some bar charts. You can put numbers in here, right? And just build a nice report. These can be exported via PDF, right? So on and so forth, right? These are really great. We still use them and we will continue to use them. But Monday Vibe has a really great place to build reports that are totally customized. And so if I jump back here, you can see I've built just kind of a commission pipeline app. And you can see it just has a chat bot. All you have to do is instruct it what you're trying to get out of the application, and it goes and it can read your board data. So this is pulling from that commission setup that we just looked at, and actually pulling in the commissions for that. You can see commissions by broker. You can see the deal type mix, the average per deal, how much total consideration, net commissions. You can even click and interact here. Right, so it just builds on top of the Monday infrastructure, which we already know and love very well, and we have great results from the dashboards and things, and it just gives you kind of that extra color, extra ability to have really, really nice customized views. Just so from here, right, we have this Riverstone Plaza, which is just kind of a lease setup again, where we have the split between the brokers, the gross commission, the referral, the co-broker, all kind of in one place. And we also have the rent schedule kind of put together over years, where we can see that in a nice chart. We also have it itemized down here at the bottom. Right, so a really interactive, and you can see we're purple plum, so I have it with purple colors, to kind of match our branding. You can put logos in here. You can customize the look and feel of this. You can add pages to it. Right, so one of the things I wanted to kind of show you is this pretty new template setup, right? So this is just to show you some examples of other vibes that have been built within the Monday ecosystem that are kind of in the template setup. So there's tons and tons of capabilities. You can build customized lead forms that, work really well on mobile. You can build dashboard reports, which we see very often. You can build like a really interactive and custom calendar, like what we have right here, right? So it's really, really flexible in the sense that you can kind of build whatever you put your mind to, and just do prompting, just do asking AI to build it for you. And it's all connected into this commission structure, right? So this kind of bright side pediatrics that we've been looking at with the yearly lease, that's going to be visible in there with all of these data points kind of summarized and collated for you. And one great thing about Vibe is you can even have it build an export function. So if you really regularly want to, have the ability to, share external reports, you can also do that. And also Vibe, you can share these vibes directly outside of the Monday ecosystem as well, right? So you can come over here and publish them, and then you can also share them externally, and they don't even have to be Monday users. So it's really, really powerful in that sense that you can build pretty much anything that you can put your mind to in that sense. And for a very specific use case, right, we have just a very simple one here, just kind of displaying commission information. You can add an export button to export that lease PDF here as well. You could make this interactive. You could add the ability to edit these. Right now it's just view, just for demo purposes, but you can have the ability to edit directly from here. So you don't ever have to go to your actual Monday board. You could just jump into the Vibe, and check it out here. And you can see behind every Vibe, it's building full applications. So you actually have access to the code, you have access to the boards behind it as well. And so you can see all the items, right, that it's summarizing here in the preview tab to show you what's going on. Yeah, that's essentially that setup. And again, it's just kind of layering different automations, right, onto our boards, getting the board set up really, really nicely, having all the information stored there, really, and then attaching kind of these Vibe applications on top of that to, add nice features, add nice reporting, and kind of extracting all of the flavor from the Monday AI tools that we have. So just kind of combining end-to-end, data entry from an agent, PDF document generation from an app in the marketplace, automated things with AI, but also, using the Monday Vibe tool to build, custom views and custom reports on top of that. So, we see this all the time where we need to be able to display our commissions in kind of a nice way especially for multi-year leases, seeing that and also seeing individual brokers' commissions in nice, one view, along with the net commissions is really, really, really powerful. Whereas traditionally with, just a regular Monday board, you're gonna have to build a dashboard and it's great, right? We love these. These look good. No issues there. But it's really, really nice to have the total flexibility and customization of the custom vibe views. So that's it for this one, and I'll shoot it over to you, Dee.
Yeah, it really seems like the options on the dashboard are pretty much endless. It's great to have so much flexibility. When we talk about bringing AI into your commercial real estate workflow inside Monday.com, it really boils down to these four key takeaways. So first, it's about speed to deal. As Christian showed you in the workspace, AI-powered drafts and instant automation ensure your team delivers ultra-fast responses to tenants, buyers, and brokers. And in this industry, a faster response directly maximizes your conversion potential. And second is the data efficiency. We want to try and completely eliminate manual clerical data entry by automatically parsing information straight out of these leases and commission details into your boards so your team can stop typing and start closing. And then third, we are building a unified OS, which we need to move away from what we call those isolated islands of software. And with Monday, you can have an integrated platform where AI doesn't live in a separate window. It lives directly in the context of your everyday data. And then ultimately, this drives scalable growth. So when you optimize these workflows, you give your firm the foundational structure it needs to effortlessly scale both its revenue and its operations. And then for everyone watching today, we know that every commercial real estate firm is structured a little bit differently. And you have your own unique workflows, your own spreadsheets, and your own specific pain points. So let us help you build the exact AI automation we showed you today. We want to invite you to book a free 15-minute AI workflow analysis with us at Purple Plum. We'll look at your specific Monday.com setup or your current process and map out a clear roadmap to turn your AI curiosity into daily productivity. So please feel free to reach out to us via email and let us know if you're interested in this offer. We'll now transition over to our chat window to address any questions you've been submitting throughout the presentation. And if you haven't typed yours in yet, go ahead and drop it in the chat now. Let's got one question here. Is our data secure if we're using AI agents to read and send information on our behalf?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So it's something to definitely consider very carefully, and you need to be aware of it, right? It's like when you're giving autonomous access to these agents, it's one of the biggest challenges. Like they're really smart and can do a lot of things, but we need to make sure that we have the proper controls in place, as well as security, right? So one great thing about using the Monday agents is that they're built on top of Monday's already established and very well put together enterprise security setup. And they also do a really great job, kind of like I was showing earlier with, I think it was Carolyn or no, sorry, the Angela, the speed delete agent, where she was sending emails on my behalf. That's really touchy, right? I don't want her to just go wild and send a ton of emails. And so it's really, really great. You can control the trigger points, right? When do they get called? Like when do they get triggered? That's a really nice feature. They don't just go off and do things that you don't tell them to do. But then also you can very specifically give access in the tooling, right? I gave her connection to my Outlook, and I very specifically only gave her send email access, right? You can very easily pull that back and say draft, which is a very common way to just kind of have some controls on some of this automated email stuff. And so, Monday is really, really great about putting those controls in place and making sure that they do what they're intended to do and nothing more. So, that's really great. And then obviously, again, like I said, you have, you know, the Monday AI, or sorry, the Monday infrastructure behind you as well in terms of security. Obviously, when you're connecting to third-party tools or connecting it to your email, you want to be careful. But if you don't have a third-party connection and you're using the AI agent within the Monday ecosystem and only within the Monday ecosystem, obviously you have very, very great security that you can rely on. It's very containerized. It only has access to what you give it to. You can even control the boards that they have access to, right? So you have very, very high flexibility on what these agents can read, what they can update, if they can delete anything or not, right? Very, very granular controls there. So that's a really, really good question, and it's something to be considering when you're dealing with AI agents, and you kind of think of them almost like another member of your team. Like, what would I give access to an intern or somebody who's a sales representative on my team or a broker, right? What access would I give them? And then think about the agent and their role in your organization, and then give them the appropriate access in that way.
Okay, thanks, Christian. And as we wrap up the question and answer session and bring episode 16 of Tuesdays with Monday to a close today, I want to thank all of you for spending your morning with us. If you're interested in learning more about how to tailor Monday.com specifically for your commercial real estate operations, or if you want to claim that free AI workflow analysis we just talked about, please reach out to Mark. Mark's our account executive here at Purple Plum Consulting. And he is fantastic at helping commercial real estate firms map out these exact types of solutions. You can see his information on the screen. Leave this up for a moment for you to grab those details. And again, thank you for joining Christian and myself today. And we look forward to helping you supercharge your workspace. And we hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, everyone.